What's good, y'all? In Module 8, basically what we're talking about is hip-hop and education and black students. To start off, basically, for me, kind of just pulling from the readings and from personal experience, I remember, when music was involved in class or was used to, help us learn, I think, even for me, really helped me and engage me in a different way rather than reading a book or something like that. That's just kind of like repetitive, right? In education is reading a book or, going over a PowerPoint or, you know, listening to the teacher, um, give instruction or lecture. But I think the biggest thing is talking about black students, especially in urban areas or inner city areas, is in one of the videos it said, get these kids to let their guard down, and that kind of just hit home for me because there were many times where I didn't feel comfortable in an educational environment. I went to public school and private school, public school through middle school, and private school in high school, you know, and I wouldn't be lying if I didn't, admit that, sometimes in high school I felt uncomfortable to raise my hand or answer a question because I didn't want to be wrong, or, I wasn't confident or comfortable even being wrong in an environment like that. You shouldn't be worried about being wrong in a class environment. And I think really what hits home is that, learning is supposed to be fun and educational. Like I said, there's a lot of things in, education, like I said, reading a book, going over PowerPoint, listening to someone lecture, that's just repetitive, and it's easy to just stare off into space. And that's really what was happening to a lot of these kids is in the inner cities is they're having trouble engaging and staying focused in during lectures, and also too, the way that things are being taught, the attendance is being affected as well. Kids don't want to come to school, and when they're at school, they're not paying attention because teachers aren't trying to reach them. Teachers aren't trying to find ways to engage with them, right? And there's one of the readings, right, it was talking about how, there's white teachers, in these inner city schools that don't know what these kids come from, don't know their situations, and either can't relate or don't even try to relate to them, right? Instead, they label them as, you know, inappropriate or, out of control or unfocused or, you know, in one of the readings, was talking about how a teacher was describing one of the students as saying that, he's inappropriate and he's loud, you know, but other than that, he's a good kid. You know what I mean? Um, and that was kind of just for me, that's kind of just you know, you're kind of talking down on the kid, and just basically describing him like he doesn't belong in a classroom setting or in an educational setting, you know. Um, and I just think that's the wrong way to do things. So one of the strategies was relating to inner city kids using rap, right? And this is a way to get them to have social and emotional learning, and that's a big part of education is those two things. And obviously, the strategy was learning in ways that kids want to, and by you know trying to conform to these kids' cultures or understand these kids' culture, you're showing them love, and you're producing integrity and perseverance, right? Like I said, a lot of these kids don't even feel comfortable being in the school environment, but trying to conform to their culture and relate to them is a way of is a form of love, and showing them, you know, integrity and perseverance and just wanting to do the right thing, and obviously finishing where you start, in school. Um, and all this, I think, conforming hip hop into education, shows blacks that, you know, our culture is educational. Who we are as people to our core is not just entertainment or athletics, or no, we could use our talents and use our culture, right? Our culture in music, our culture in dancing, our culture even in athletics, or things like that, and we could translate and or take that into the classroom and use that to engage and relate to our own culture, and get the younger generations to learn, because they're feeling inspired because people are trying to relate to their culture. I think the three biggest things that are in the world, and also too in the education system, is racism, bigotry, and hate. It's like I said, I mean, the higher you move up in education, the less likely you are to succeed if you are black. And like I said, there's no sympathy or conforming to blacks and their culture. It is what it is. If you can't do what the other kids do or want to do, there's no sympathy for you, right? Like you said, I mean, you have kids being pushed out of schools because teachers don't want to deal with them. They want to find ways to help them learn. They just want them out of the way so they can continue on and do their job as best as they can. And like I said, I mean, when you push young black kids away from education, basically what you're doing is, you're pushing them into the prison system. If they're not going to school, they're gonna find something else to do. I think, and for me, I mean, reflecting on those readings was basically like the goal is to make school context catchy and sticky, just like a popular song that we hear on a daily basis, right? All the catchy songs that we like in mainstream media, right, can be, you know, you can use that, I guess, in education, come up with catchy, tunes or things like that that engage you and, are easy to remember. Um, like I said, I think the reason why hip hop is so good in education is it obviously in inner cities. And it's shown that it increases attendance and participation. You have more kids attending school, wanting to learn and participate in class, and like I said, feeling comfortable, feeling like they belong, feeling like that they can do it. Yeah, I think it just goes back to trying to use and relate to black culture in order to teach, right? And sorry, going back on race, bigotry, and hate, when you break down these barriers and you're using these other ways to reach different kids, black kids in different backgrounds, you got to explain why you're doing it and educate them not only on why you're doing what you're doing, but the reason you're doing what you're doing, because you want to break barriers like race, break barriers like bigotry, break barriers like hate, because not only do black kids need to know about that and confront that, but also too kids of all other races, because racism isn't just solely a black and white thing. There's racism in all cultures and backgrounds, and I think at a young age, teachers, you know, have to be one of the cornerstones and one of the biggest advocates for teaching kids that racism, hate, and bigotry isn't right. And yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, I think hip hop is a great way to reach kids of many backgrounds. I don't think just black. You know, there's a lot of kids, other races than black that enjoy hip hop, that enjoy music. And I think it's just a great way to engage kids in general. Like I said, I remember in school, hearing, little rhymes about, math formulas, or, watching rap videos on science. And that stuff did help. That stuff did make a difference. And I think education needs to continue to strive to change, and be innovative, and consistently um, staying, parallel with the times that we're in and the culture that we're in. We're in a social media culture. We're in a, um, you know, music or hip hop kind of, um, I don't know, point in time, I guess. Is hip hop is very popular around the world. Everybody knows at least, a couple hip hop songs. Everybody's trying, hip hop dance moves, and that is what the younger generations, enjoy, right, and can relate to.